Domestic violence is as old as human relationships. What's new, though, is that many states, including Massachusetts, now recognize gay marriage. Prosecutors are now charging a Springfield woman with the murder of her wife, making it the first murder case in Massachusetts involving same-sex spouses. I'm Dina Rudick with The Backstory, here with Boston Globe reporter Bella English, whose story outlines the details of the case as well as the cultural moment it reflects. So I've got to say, welcome back. This is my first repeat guest on The Backstory.
Thanks. Good to be here.
I'm going to ask you kind of a tough question first. Murders happen, unfortunately, all the time. But why is this particular murder a story?
Well, because gay marriage was so hugely celebrated in 2004 when it was passed here. And when I've talked to gay advocates, what they say is they're so used to being the subject of violence from outside their community. But this focuses attention inside the community.
This was a difficult story to report because no one would talk to you. No one directly involved with the case would talk to you.
Well, right. The lawyers, I did talk to the lawyers, but what was difficult was getting people who knew the women to talk to me because they're friends of both women,
right.
Both the victim and the alleged perpetrator.
And the families wouldn't talk to you.
The
right?
families would not, and that's a slightly different subject. There's a granddaughter involved here. Mm-hmm. And these two sides of the, both sides of sets of grandparents are sort of at odds over, visitation, et cetera, with the granddaughter.
So what you had to do is you basically had to parachute into this little town of 6,000 people and piece it together somehow?
Yeah, Granby is about 20 minutes from Northampton, sort of central west part of the state, 6,400 people. People literally cannot remember when the last murder was there.
Where did you start?
Well, I went to the police station. And so they were the first investigators, called to the house that night in March of 2010.
Are they nervous to talk to you because this case is pending right now?
They didn't talk a whole lot about it, but the assistant district attorney for that part of the state did talk to me about it, and the defense attorney talked sort of briefly about it. But you're right, because it's pending and the trial will probably be next fall, no one wants to say too much. The interesting thing about this story is that an arrest wasn't made until 19 months after the death.
There's a lot of lurid and alluring details about the actual case, but there's this one detail that really stuck out: pink paint.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
There was the body was covered in the ceiling paint, so it goes on pink and it dries white, and that's sort of a big clue because the different times of murder, she is saying one thing and the district attorney is saying another. The paint wasn't dry, it was still pink, therefore the paint was put on
recently.
A lot later after they think the time of death to cover up whatever, blood, clues. It's bizarre.
How did you find that out?
I found that out from the district attorney, and also there are a lot of court records here. There's a long account of a bail hearing that both sides had a lot of details in, so I got those from the courthouse.
Are you concerned about how the gay community is going to see this as a front page story in the Globe and say, why are you making such a big deal out of this murder case when murder cases happen all the time?
I hope not, and we really use this case as sort of a springboard for talking about domestic violence in the gay community, which the gay advocates I spoke to were quite willing to do and happy to do because they think it's underreported and under-recognized in the community, and they think it needs to be outed, if you will.
You cite in your story experts who claim that domestic violence is as common in gay relationships as it is in straight relationships.
Right. There was a big intimate partner violence study by the CDC a couple of years ago, and it found that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will be the victim of domestic violence within their partnership at some point in their lives. And when I spoke to advocates for, from the gay community, they said that although they don't have local studies, their experience bears out the fact that pretty much down the line it matches the heterosexual community.
So this story is going to continue because it looks like the trial's not even until next fall, maybe?
Probably.
Are you going to see this through then?
Yes, I will. I'd like to see what happens. These women were together almost 10 years. They've got an adopted child who's 4 years old now. And it's a very sad but interesting case. And there's, as I quote one of their former bosses as saying, there's really no good news here. We want justice, but there's no good news because both women were so popular and well liked out in that community.
Great. Thank you so much, Bella.
Thank you.
Thanks.